After escaping the terrible conflicts that happened in Nigeria, the Wraith found a new place in Virginia, America, where he started working on a simple job in Autohaven Wreckers, a car junkyard, in order to get some money to live by. The job was simple. He received broken and abandoned cars, and all he had to do is handle the crusher in order to make them junk cubes. He knew this place was shady, but he didn't care that much. After all, nothing was as bad as what he saw back in his homeland. That was true, until one day, one of the cars started bleeding. Wraith took a closer look, and he found out a tied up man, begging for his life. That was when Azaroth, the Wraith's boss, came in and killed that man, forcing the Wraith to end the job. He explained that every single car in Autohaven contained a soul inside, so the Wraith ended up being an accidental executioner, taking the lives of countless of people. This carnage can be seen anytime you play in Autohaven as any character. Just take a look around in any jungle gym or structure and you will see limbs and torsos laying down everywhere. It's a very brutal sight to see while playing, and some people might not even notice that there are literal bodies laying down inside the tires and compressed machinery. But the interesting part about this is that these corpses were not present in real Autohaven. Whenever you are playing in this map, you can see them everywhere, but it doesn't make any logical sense. If the corpses were so easily found everywhere, Wraith would have found out earlier. The police would have found out earlier. This amount of bodies cannot be ignored. The Autohaven we are playing in Dead by Daylight is not the real Autohaven that can be found in real life. It is a torture hell designed specifically for the Wraith, taken straight from his memories. Where a normal human being would see the cars as just junk and crushed metal, Wraith is forever traumatized, and he knows that each car was alive. He knows that he killed countless innocent victims, and the entity constantly reminds him and tortures him mentally every single time he has a trial in Autohaven Wreckers, by making sure that he knows each wrecked car contained a human soul. One of the oldest facts in Dead by Daylight is related to our favorite masked torturer, the pig, and its scary, hyper-realistic mask. If we base our knowledge on the Saw franchise and films, we know that the pig mask that Amanda wears on her face is not a real pig, but instead a latex replica that was also used by Jigsaw himself. The pig mask had a symbolic use, as well as a practical one to hide his identity. Things take a very dark turn on the entity's realm, because according to the pighead description, it is a real, rotting pighead. All of her other cosmetic pigheads also state that the head is completely real, like her probable cause mask, which says it's a freshly skinned pighead, or her bloated pighead, which is stated as being decomposed and rotting inside. What also solidifies that the mask is real is Amanda's face, because by checking inside the pig mask, you will see that Amanda's face is fully covered in blood, something that should not happen if the mask were to be made out of latex. But why is Amanda wearing a real pighead? Turns out, this is just another decision by the entity. At the time of the pig's inclusion in Dead by Daylight, the entity was not as strong as it is now, so it could not understand the concepts of what is real and what isn't. In fact, one proof of this is how there's a cow laying down in one of the beds in Levy's Memorial Institute. The entity recreates everything in their realms according to the memory of the killers and survivors, and for Amanda, the pighead was real, so the entity made it a real, rotting pighead. If you think about it for a second, that means that the entity has created a human pig-like creature with long hair for Amanda to wear. Could you imagine these pig creatures being alive in the entity's realm? A lot of people in the community try to sympathize with Hillbilly, as they believe this poor, disfigured kid that was treated poorly by his parents did not deserve everything bad that happened to him. They believe that Hillbilly was a good person, and someone who could have had a good life, But even if all of this is true, that does not remove the fact that Hillbilly is potentially one of the characters that took part in the most amount of atrocities possible in this game. The Hillbilly first attacked his own parents after everything that they did to him, and nobody knows what happened to the bodies, as some speculate that they were buried in a random place or hidden in the silo. He didn't have enough with just his parents, as he killed every animal that was alive in the Coldwind farm, and he didn't give them a quick, easy death. Instead, he used their bodies to decorate the place, either by hanging them around Coldwind like decorations or using them for his own clothing. But he didn't have enough with just killing people inside Coldwind farms. He also decided to leave and attack other innocent people like the milkman, a park ranger, mechanics, sheriff officers, and even a teenager according to the description of his highwayman cosmetic. But if that wasn't enough cruelty for Hillbilly, he decided to step it up a notch. He used some of the bodies as food for the farmland animals like pigs, and who knows if Hillbilly also ate some of it. Those bodies that he didn't use as food for livestock, he decided that it was best to hide them somewhere out of sight. Have you ever been quiet inside the Thompson's house? Have you ever heard something suspicious once you are inside? It's very complicated to hear anything with the noises of generators being repaired, the breathing of our killers, or the sounds of chainsaws going around. But if you listen very closely, you might hear a constant scream. There isn't any confirmation of this in the live game, but back before Coldwind was reworked, the devs shared some concept art images of how the locations were going to look like. One particular image was stuck in my mind, as something extremely creepy was revealed thanks to this concept art. In the Thompson's house, there are bodies hidden inside the walls. The nurse story is one of the creepiest backstories that Behavior made out of the original characters, back when the game only had 5 killers total. Her life was always tragic, as she lost the love of his life, her husband Andrew, and she had to find a way to provide for herself, now living completely alone. She found a job in the Crotus Pren Asylum as a nurse, and that's how her mental decline began. The nurse had to endure the constant torture and screams of the patients in the asylum, as well as seeing and living all the crazy things that would happen inside this institution. Things got worse and worse for her, as every day it became harder to work there, but she had to endure, as it was her only way to provide a home and food for herself. Think about how, during those times, her pay would be very mediocre, as she was also a woman, so her treatment would be worse. One day, the nurse just could not take it anymore, and she snapped. She started to sacrifice all of the patients in the asylum. Just as a reminder, there were boys and girls in that asylum, and yet she gave all of them the same treatment, something that she considered as merciful and necessary death for them. But her treatment didn't stop at the patients, as she also decided to end the lives of the other staff, like Nurse Morris or Father Campbell, the priest. Everyone in the asylum was dead. The mystery starts here. The authorities found Sally apparently alive, rocking back and forth non-stop as a mentally deranged person, and they tried to save her by taking her to the nearest hospital. But on the way there, for some mysterious reason, the ambulance had an accident, and her body was not found anywhere. This fate is shown on her accident outfit from the Rift, which showcases her pierced body. You would be as crazy as the patients in the asylum if you can believe that the nurse could survive that accident. But if this was her outfit during the accident, why is her default cosmetic completely different? Why does the nurse float and have a pillowcase stuck on her head, making it hard to breathe? If you look at the nurse's visual design and just her movements in the lobby, she floats and rocks back and forth as if she was hanging from a rope. She is in a constant state suffering, as it's very hard for her to breathe, as you can listen yourself. What if the default nurse we have in the game is not the same nurse that was taken in the ambulance. We know that there are multiple realities in this game, something akin to a multiverse, and it is very possible that the original nurse was not found in any ambulance, nor she was alive in a mentally deranged state in the asylum beds. What if the nurse decided to take herself the same treatment as she gave the rest of the patients? This would mean that the nurse that we have in the game is dead. She is a zombie, just like the Spirit, the Oni, or Sadako. In fact, she was always dead in the entity's realm. This would explain why she has supernatural abilities and why she floats, as it would be easier to give her paranormal powers since she has no physical body alive but a soul. Her mind was completely broken, and we know that the entity takes the realms straight from the memories of the killers. In most of the maps in DBD, there are no supernatural features except in some recent maps like Garden of Joy or Eyrie of Crows, but the Asylum does feature one disturbing sight that most of the players never saw before. The next time you play in this map, both as a survivor or killer, go to the top floor of the Asylum in the middle and take a look up. The Macmillan realm is composed of 5 different submaps, all that belong to the Trapper. Just to refresh your memory, we have the Ironworks of Misery, Coal Tower, Groaning Storehouse, Suffocation Pit, and the one outlier, Shelter Woods. Unlike the rest of the maps in the game, Shelter Woods is completely empty, with the only building available being the shack, which is not even its main component unlike Wrecker Yard. Instead, the main spotlight is a giant tree in the middle of the map. This tree is unlike any other tree that can be found anywhere in the game, except the Blood Willow tree. But by taking a closer look at this tree, nothing stands out besides the giant size of it. And just as a fun fact, this tree is called Weird Tree inside the files of Dead by Daylight, but according to the description of this place in game, it states that the trees around Shelter Woods are cursed in some way. They seem to be contorted as if they wanted to run away from something. Maybe the trees had sentience and they knew the atrocities that Archie Macmillan was causing all around the estate. What makes this tree creepier is if you know what was originally intended for it to be. In the Dead by Daylight art book, calling this tree as the Strange Tree, we can see how it was supposed to look like. It looks like a human crawling for its life, suffering from some pain. Nobody knows why the devs decided to go against the original design, but it would have made this map way more unique and interesting than it is now. But, as usual in this video, things don't end here. There was an even creepier design for this tree planned even before they made the art book of Dead by Daylight, something older. This concept art showcases the weird tree with the final design that is in the live game, however, with one particular detail that is omitted. This tree was supposed to have human faces on it. The reason this was scrapped was due to the scale of it being so big. It didn't make much sense to waste resources into creating these faces on the tree, as survivors wouldn't be able to see them in game. Dead by Daylight has a lot of horrifying, disturbing things about it that most players forget due to the goofy nature of the skins and the community that the game currently has. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and help support the channel, and I will make another part for you to enjoy. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.